Have you ever started a project and then partway through it, you say to yourself, I give up. I just can't do this anymore. I'm just getting a little bit impatient with this video now. Or from the word go, everything just seems to be going wrong. And then I'm gonna act like a child and throw the whole video out the window. This one tested me. Yep, I almost gave up. But I'm so glad I carried on. Never give up. Right, we are back, and believe it or not, this is 1 kilogram of bismuth. There's not much, is there? I think I should have ordered more, but for what I want to do, don't want, you know, the big crystal formations that you've probably seen on YouTube. I want something small that I can incorporate into our resin art. Maybe a pendant or a resin coaster. I'm gonna play around with it. I'm not a pro when it comes to this stuff. I've watched a couple of videos. All I know is I need to heat it, melt it, and then poke it. I'm pretty good at poking things. So let's see what happens, shall we? And the good thing about my studio is it has an allocated kitchen area. So no food stuff goes on in there. It is just for experimental purposes. So what I think may be a better option for this is to put this small pot inside this big saucepan and then pack out the outside with some tin foil. Just like that. So that will allow me to take the pot out. I've got some other protective gloves that I'm going to put on as well. And that should then retain the heat because the crystals begin to form as the bismuth slowly begins to cool down on the surface downwards. I don't know if it's going to work. So I've just turned on the heat. Bismuth begins to melt at 270-ish degrees Celsius. I'm just hoping the heat transfers to this pot here. I'm going to pop, I've got a small part of bismuth here. I'm going to pop that in the bottom just so I can see when it starts to melt. So it's just starting to reach temperature. If I push this down, you can see it's leaving that liquid form bismuth there. So what I'm going to do is introduce this bigger chunk into the pot. Right, so because I've got aluminium like this and the bismuth, I'm going to pop my mask on and we're going to voiceover mode. And it's time for voiceover Dan, who already knows how all of this video goes. It tested me. So this big chunk is now beginning to melt, so I introduced the larger one. Now I have sped this up quite a bit because I was at the oven top for quite some time trying to get this to work properly. And what you are seeing here is me scraping the surface off. This is just excess material that is mixed in with the bismuth. And then I'm drawing circles on the surface because I want the crystals to form in the center and grow downwards. I introduce a small bit of bismuth to try and trigger the crystal growth from that cold spot. And at this stage, I have cranked the temperature down to trigger the cooling and the crystal growth. And now I can just start to retrieve some of the crystal formations which have formed. Now, doing this stuff can be quite dangerous. You can buy these crystals already formed on Amazon, but I'm not sure what the prices or the sizes or the colors are going to be. What's happening now is the temperature is really starting to cool quickly, and I'm struggling to retrieve crystals because they're bonding together really fast. So I reheat the bismuth again and just repeat the process. This is why I've sped this up, because it was a lengthy process, trust me. And at times I was retrieving pieces of metal with no crystal formation at all. I dipped this one back in accidentally. Things just really started to go wrong for me. So at this point, I almost gave up here also. But you have to just carry on. I tipped the bismuth out into a cooler pot and just hoped that it would trigger faster cooling and quicker crystal growth. And it kind of worked. Yeah, so after all that anyway, we've got some pretty cool pieces. Some of them haven't coloured, which is a shame. Really like this part. Obviously I'm not sure if I could do anything with that standy uppy bit. Got lots of small ones. It took some time. I mean, it's an art in itself trying to get these crazy crystals to form. So this was the pot that I poured out from. Don't do that at home, goodness. But there's some really nice structures in there. This yellow stuff is just, it's just a leftover, like an oxide I can clean off. But I want to get some of these big chunks out that are in the bottom. It's quite brittle, so just be careful because it's sharp. There we go. I can definitely do something with these with a clean up. Got some on the underside as well, and I can always break these up and melt them down again if I wanted to. This was, I wanted just cool shock, so I poured from pot to pot just to see what I'd get. But that's too thick. Really is a thick lump. And this, I can't really do anything with that. So it will all just be melted down and used again. And what I'm wondering with these pieces that didn't quite get any colour is if I blowtorch them. My mat is, a soldering mat can withstand extreme temperatures. Hoping this should work. I don't want to melt it again. I just want to give it colour. You can see it's going a more of a purple colour. So I can target certain areas and bring out different colours. Right, so I've narrowed it down to 1 or 2 pieces that I might work with. Now this one, it's a bit late for Christmas, but actually looks like a tree. I'm wondering if I could take down some of this top bit and just highlight this framework a bit more. It is a stunning piece. The other one I think I might work with is this. It has nice balance. It's got really nice detail and colour. I think that and a pendant. They're quite weighty though. But there's lots of gaps. Lots of nooks and crannies. So I may have to think about possibly putting this in some resin and putting it into my degas vacuum chamber to pull any air pockets out. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. This one here has almost a heart shape at the top. So I'm not sure if I could do something just with that, but it's just not enough depth for me. But then the colour is really nice. We have options. As always, massive shout out to my channel members, anyone who's bought me a coffee or a super thanks. I'm going to go home and have a think about what I'm going to do. Oh no, I didn't go home. I had to test this before, otherwise I wouldn't have slept. So I'm just showing how easy it is to snip this metal. So I just put some UV resin into my mould and then applied some to the metal, just hoping it would reduce bubbles, and then I just submerged that. I then continued to cure that on both sides for a good few minutes, and this is where the first experiment kind of went wrong. That one out. And I can go home to sleep safely, but I'm going to show you that at the end. Okay, I'm well rested. Well, I say I'm well rested. Did I go home and get any sleep? Not really, no, because I'm going to show you why. We have run into an issue, and that is that it's lost its colour compared to how it was before I put it in the UV resin compared to how it is now. Now, is it a UV resin thing, or will epoxy also take away the colour? I really don't know. At this stage, I'm kind of freaking out because I don't want to ruin that piece. I test with water, I test again with resin. I really don't know what's going to happen when I introduce this big piece into my resin. Now to plan how I'm going to do it. because if I put that in, you know, face down, it's raised above the mold quite a bit, and if I sand that, it's going to interfere. So what I'm thinking is, I really want the colours to pop. What I need to do, I think, is backfill this with black UV resin to a certain point, then finish it with a clear, make another clear cabochon that I can then put on top, sand the whole piece down, and then dip it. I think I'm going to go with that. It could go very wrong, I don't know. And also I'm hoping by doing that it should magnify some of the details. For this I'm going to use Resin Rocker's Black Cat Quick Drip. It's a lot thicker and it's pre-made black. So what I'm going to do is apply a small base. Stop it! Static. Clean that up because I don't want that to stand out. No, this is going wrong. We'll start again, shall we? So I've just applied a small amount. I'm going to part cure that and then rest the bismuth on top. And by doing this, hopefully it will prevent the bismuth being too visible from the back. And just push that in place. Now I can apply the black under. Maybe I can put more of the black in first before putting the bismuth in. That might be easier. So it's not really pushing into that. It's cured really, really well. Just going to apply more. I'm making this up as I go along. Can you tell? In my mind, I'm doing all this and I'm going to lose the colour. And then I'm going to act like a child and throw the whole video out the window. But fingers crossed. Let's cure that in place and from the underneath. My goodness, the mirror would help, Dan. And now I'm not quite happy with how it is in the mould. Can I reposition it? Yes, I can. And now I'm just going to carefully backfill what I can with the black. And just cure that. Now, I'm not going to put any more black in at the moment. I'm going to go in with clear and just try and allow it to flow into any of the small gaps to try and push out those bubbles. I was going to do this with epoxy and run it through the vac machine, but I'm just getting a little bit impatient with this video now. And I kind of want to finish it as quick as possible. But I do want to bring that black up a bit higher around the outside. If I can, all the way to the top. We'll see what happens. I'm just going to see if I can push in this stick just to manipulate any. And when I hit this with the UV light, the bismuth should bounce the light all around inside this also. It really is a super powerful light. Now I've cured all those gaps, I'm just going to protect the bismuth as much as I can with another layer of clear. And the reason why this is called quick drip, it's not because it drips quickly. It's meant for adding drip effects to tumblers. It really is thick stuff. I'm hoping I can get this to cling to the walls of the mould without beginning to submerge the bismuth piece. And so far it's working. Really is clinging to the mould. Now I can just bring this up, hopefully, to a nice level. If there's any imperfections with the black, I can coat the back afterwards, I suppose. I'm really happy that it's keeping its colour and the black is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. I now feel a lot more at ease with this. A lot more at ease. Okay, all I need to do now is make the front or the lens and clean my mould. I'm just going to fill that up with UV resin and cure it. I could have done it with epoxy, but again, I'm being impatient Dan. So what I can do now is take out our front, apply some UV resin to this piece. This is where it can get risky. This can draw in bubbles. I'm going to put in more than what I need. I can sand the rest down and clean it up afterwards. But what I want to do is lay this on top of there and then cure it without any bubbles. Just let the piece fall down like so. And I've just got to hope that it doesn't drift as I'm curing it. I'm going to go on a low power. The good thing about this light is it has the variable wattage. Low power for a minute and then increase it to full. Now I can demold it. I don't want to show the front yet. So you can see there's some of the exposed metal which I can easily fix. So I'm just going to take some time cutting all this excess off and giving the whole piece a sand down. So when sanding, you really need to pay attention to details like this. You want to sand it until you can no longer see them. You can see some imperfections on the seam lines where I joined the top lens to the back, and I just keep going over and just until the whole stone is as smooth as I can possibly get it. Especially areas like this, because the resin may not cling to that surface if it's still shiny. And this is just a P600 grit I'm using, and then I'm just filling in those black areas. So one thing I didn't think about was how I'm going to mount it or hang it, whatever I want to do with it. If I drill it, I don't want the drill mark to be visible through the piece. Should have thought about this part, Dan. What I might do is try and play it safe for the dipping stage. Just get a small hole just in the back here, dip it, cure it, and then once I've got a visible window, I can then reevaluate. So I forgot to turn off my music device at this stage, so I'm having to voice over this part also. I'm just drilling a small hole, attaching a small loop, and then I decide to keep it on a leather cord to dip it, just to make it a little bit easier for me, because the last time I tried I used my pliers and that didn't work very well. And this is just normal UV resin in my pot. I dip it twice just to make sure it's fully coated, and then I hold it a bit further by the loop and just move it around in front of that light. Okay, now are you ready for this? I decided to keep that there. I was able to go in a bit further, and by the time that's on my chest it will sit nicely. This is insane. This is really worth the struggles and the effort over the last few days to get this. As always, give the video a thumbs up, drop me a comment if you haven't subbed. It is free. Hit that button for me. Look at that. The colours there. It looks absolutely incredible. I love the way that it's blown up and magnified. All that detail in the structure. Minimal bubbles. I'm not sure if I can see any. Can you see any? Don't worry, it needs a bit of a clean up where I've been touching it with my dirty gloves. Look at that. That is incredible. I've turned the ring light on just for some additional light, just to bring out some of those colours a bit more. Was it worth it? 100%. 100%. That was definitely worth it. It is incredible. It's probably one of my most favourite pieces I've ever made. I know I say that a lot, but we continue to grow. We continue to push resin art with different ideas and different things. That's what we do here. Kicking off 2024 with a banger. Right, hope you enjoyed that one. I did, kind of. See you for the next one. Bye for now.